sexuality a hot topic, an exciting topic. We all deal with it. What is important now in order to harness this energy? What is important?
Sexual energy. Sexual energy must first be healed before it can be used. Otherwise, it will be abused. One of the points I keep bringing up, a trigger, is to ask yourself, is sexuality as it is lived here on Earth normal for you? Or do you feel a certain dissonance? Or, let me put it this way, do you have this feeling inside you that things could be different? Or that sexuality is actually something different than how it is lived here or maybe shown in the mainstream? Is love perhaps also something different than what it actually is, as it is lived on this earth? So first it's about decoding everything around the topics of sexuality, partnership, and love, and all these hypnosis codes that define sexuality and how sexuality is lived. And then, to be honest with yourself, how do you live your sexuality, and why do you live it the way you do? Do you have an agenda here? Do you manipulate through sex or sexuality your partner or maybe even yourself? Do you have unhealed sexual energy within you? All these kinds of questions are ones I have to ask myself first before I can even continue with the thought of using sexual energy. Because otherwise I might use sexual energy, but instead of serving, it actually does harm. When the focus is on using or exploiting, that doesn't mean that just because I have sex the way it's practiced in the mainstream, I'm necessarily causing harm right away. But it can set energy dynamics in motion that may not be for the highest good of my partner and myself. So here, having clear awareness, a clear energy field, and being clear about your own agenda is essential. That is the foundation before I can even begin to see sexuality within a healed context or as a framework for healing. And even Kama Sutra or Tantra energy or Tantric energy or even blueprint, activation energy, which also deals with a kind of sexual energy, first requires that the negative codes of hypnosis surrounding sexual energy be resolved in the client or even in the healer themselves. And where there is sex, there is no power, at least not in its purest form. And in every place where there is truly healed and balanced sexual energy present, you will find that there is always a profound sense of deep nourishment and a remarkable level of mental clarity that follows. If it is hacked, it is not clean. There are energies present that create from lower astral planes. And then sexuality can also become a tool for abuse, an energetic tool for abuse, and a part of sexuality. I talked about this in the Earth Code, a course I created to help people understand how the false matrix on Earth is constructed. And part of this is that sexuality is manipulated in such a way within souls that during sexuality, when it is experienced as it is commonly shown, one can, at least in part, become a portal for entities and egregores from the lower astral planes. Just take a look, for example, at the BDSM scene or the pornography scene. It's especially strong there. But even when, for example, couples develop a certain dependency on sexuality because they use it to compensate for something, or perhaps even use sexuality to buy love, to buy attention, or even to buy self-love, at least in part. Absolutely all of these common everyday things that seem perfectly normal to us, if we do not take the time to deeply question them, are a major part of the reason why our powerful innate sexual energy doesn't serve people, but instead serves the darker interests of the lower astral realm, and serves to further maintain a lower state of consciousness. I think the majority of people are not yet at a point where they can truly use sexual energy for something positive. And I wish we were at that point, because then you could really start, when the true sexual energy is present, to use it for healing, for the planet, for your relationships, for your soul. You can begin to feel your cosmic self again through sexual energies, through deep contact with your soul, to reactivate it again within sexual energy. But you don't actually need it for that. Ultimately, all this beauty that resides in sexual energy is also, for example, about giving birth to new worlds, manifesting new worlds, and intervening in the fabric of reality. Through sexuality in a positive sense, to shift it, to change it, because during this process a whole lot of energy is released, energy that gives birth to entirely new worlds. I can't do any of that in a positive sense because everything I would give birth to would be negative worlds, entities, the lower astral worlds, the worlds that ultimately shape our world, like politics, like power systems, systems of control, negativity. All of this is also, among other things, manifested in the subconscious through the twisted sexual acts of souls. So it's a very complex and very sensitive topic because it also triggers a lot. It's not because sexuality is a problem or because talking about sex is bad, but because so much hypnosis is consciously placed over sexuality that sexuality currently serves to maintain the negative matrix and not to anchor new worlds, new potentials.
From the bottom of my heart, I also wish for a true transformation here. And of course, as humanity, we will address all these topics. And I would like to provide a link to it. You said the course is called Earth Code. I also want to put a direct link to it here below our conversation so people can listen to it again from you. And now, before we wrap up, I want to mention, if you like this kind of conversation, feel free to share it with your contacts. Thank you very much. Leave a comment in Leipzig, a comment or a question. We also welcome your feedback here on Ramble or the light messages on Telegram. And regarding the encounter, what is it about from your perspective to round off this conversation? What would you like to share with the listeners as a takeaway? Is there something that's really important to you that you want people to take away from this conversation?
I think the most important thing I feel here in the space you've created is that people are allowed to believe in themselves. That each and every one of you understands deep inside that you are not limited, but you have been manipulated into believing that you are limited, and it's about recognizing and breaking through all the hypnotic codes, how society is shaped here and how you are told what and how to do things, and to be courageous enough to become the ambassador of a new world by embodying this new world, to be brave enough to go against the current and say something that perhaps otherwise would not be said, to share something that might not usually be shared, but which is your truth, instead of just repeating what others say. Not things you've just heard from others, but to seek the connection to yourself, to your akasha, to your truth, to your soul. And to be courageous enough to share that, even if it goes against the current. And even if it means that maybe some people don't want to listen to you. I am also brave and always speak up when I have something to say. Things that go against the current. But in the end, that's what's needed, because the world is so deeply entrenched in manipulation and hypnosis that people no longer even know what things originally were or what is actually right. And then humanity is also conditioned not to even ask what is actually right and not to think independently for themselves at all. That is part of the hypnosis. You have been hypnotized not to think but to consume, and not to connect with yourselves but to be dependent on what others tell you. And what I invite you to do is to start following your own truth and to be brave enough to share your truth. Not to tell stories, not to tell lies, but to share your truth. Because that is something that does not yet exist on this planet. And maybe millions of people are waiting exactly for that, for your truth and not for what is written somewhere in books, what others have said, or what you once learned. And to truly be brave enough to let go of your limitations and to realize you are not limited, but you believe you are limited because you are supposed to believe it. And to really say, yes, I now believe myself that I can do anything and that I can achieve anything, and I help others to do the same. And then we are on a good path toward a holistic society. And that's what I wish to see, and very, very soon. Because honestly, I don't want to go through a reset. I don't want the earth to be reset, and I also don't want to incarnate again just to help you out of the reset afterwards. I'm a bit selfish in that regard. That's why I enjoy helping you so much and want you to step into your power so that we can finally put this topic to rest. And so that together, we can move into a new world that is open and not into the next reset.
Wow, thank you, Lia. Thank you for your powerful insights into your work, your way of thinking, leading, feeling, and speaking. Simply everything that makes you and your entire system who you are.